The Akawu tells us that survival is the oldest way of life. Survival commands us to do whatever it takes to survive. Survival will ultimately cause people to disregard their own cultural heritage and traditions. For survival reasons, some Native Americans hunted runaway slaves in exchange for favor of the white man. On the other hand, for survival reasons, some former slaves hunted Indians and runaway slaves for the favor of the white man. From the first contact with white men, many of our so-called African and Native American ancestors resisted European cultural practices and values. This resistance took on various forms. Our pre-European contact ancestors lived with reverence for the earth, kinship with all forms of life, and harmony with nature. The exception to this rule was in times of extreme survival and danger after all other options had been explored and exhausted. Initially, indigenous people tried to convert these European invaders to a universal, harmonious, and peaceful way of life. When that didn't work, they tried simply moving to another location thinking that there was enough room or space for all people to live. When that didn't work, they tried frightening and intimidating these settlers, which were really invaders, by simply showing them signs of their strength without actually going to war. For example, a European observer said that Bequath Indians might fight for 7 years without taking even 7 lives. Well, this tactic didn't work either. Many of these traditional indigenous societies did not have an organized system of violence. Because most of their neighbors were peaceful and communal people, there simply was no need to develop such a system of violence. The European style of slavery was resisted by many societies until they exhausted all other options of survival. Many of our so-called American Indian ancestors eventually submitted to this form of slavery as survival demanded. Most full-blooded Indians resisted the practice of chattel slavery to the point of separating from those whose blood was mixed with European blood. Some so-called Indian land remained a safe haven for runaway slaves well into the 19th century. This helped destabilize the institution of slavery. Mixed-blood Indians tended to accept white culture and values with much less resistance than full-bloods. Full-bloods continued marrying so-called maroons and producing offspring with them. This was an act of war. Mixed bloods and whites established laws that forbade the two groups from intermarriage. So marriage meant intentionally breaking the white man's law or, perhaps, not even recognizing the white man's law. The Allies did not respect the self-imposed authority of the white man and his mixed-blood offspring. These marriages created an alliance that would threaten the stability of the American slave system from the 16th century through the end of the Civil War. This has been Daku. Akabo wa Akatu.